So the Zelda fans are not happy, and I wanted to talk about that briefly. I don't want to make a big thing out of it, but it did seem to be something I should mention, or I wanted to mention. Okay, so um, the stuff I said about Zelda regarding it having areas that are really ugly, I stand by. I'll never not stand by that unless they release a patch. I don't think the entire game is ugly. I don't think most of it is ugly, but I think there's some, so far, I'm about 7 hours in, some pretty nasty looking places that just feel eh. And I understand, it's the Switch, it's this, it's that. Doesn't mean I don't love the game. Doesn't mean I don't think the art style is very pretty. Certainly, given the limitations that it can hold its own with from an art style standpoint, I think is great. Okay. Tangentially related, those might be the same thing. Doesn't matter. Related. No, it doesn't matter. Related, even going back to the Metroid thing, this is all about pissing off Nintendo fanboys. So I also stand by that. People like to say, oh, Jaffe says the game's too hard. He got stuck. It's too hard. My issue was never that it was too hard. It may have been. I barely played it. My issue was the onboarding, and I'm not going to, relitigate that with you fellas. You think what you want. But here's what I'll tell you. The reason I'm making this video is a couple of things have occurred to me recently, as of tonight, yesterday, last night, that made me want to talk to the Nintendo fans who are still willing to listen to me and even apologize to them. Because for me, this is just jokey, right? I mean, I don't know. I think there's a generational aspect to it. Like, I made a video about Metroid back in the day, and I'm like, if you like this, you're a fucking moron. And do I think someone who likes Metroid Dread is a fucking moron? Of course I don't. Do I, it's just jokey, right? It's just dumb. It's just kind of, it's just sort of me turned up to 20. Doesn't mean the issue I had isn't correct. But so if you took offense at that, which some people did, I'm sorry for that, because I really didn't, that was not my intention. My intention was to paint very broad strokes about how ridiculous I thought the onboarding in that game was. But here's why I'm kind of apologizing, or I'm definitely apologizing, because I don't like to hurt people. But it's only until last night that I recognized that, yeah, there are trolls, and I'm one of them sometimes. Yeah, there are people who are just playing around on the internet. I'm one of them sometimes. But it occurred to me that there were some responses coming to me from people kind of standing up for Zelda, where they were really serious. And in the past, it's been very easy for me to paint those kinds of people as, oh my God, there's what, get a grip, get some therapy. It's a fucking video game, blah, blah, blah. And I made my career for the longest time making video games. I've loved them since, 1974. But it does occur to me, and I see it in my own kids, not video games, they're not gamers and stuff, but and I'm not saying anybody who took issue was young, but I know there were a lot of younger people. I see a lot of anxiety in that generation. People who if you're under 30, under 35, you get a fucking pass from me. Not that you need it, because I wouldn't have wanted to grown up as a kid in the last 35 years. It's rough, man. The anxiety and the terrorism and the shooting and the pandemic and the political upheaval. And, if a video game comes along, whatever age, but certainly that age, and it does bring you a sense of joy and comfort and escape and a connection with the community. I was never trying to attack that, but I appreciate that there are people who take it very seriously and very protective of it. And it's tough because I just joke around a lot, it doesn't mean the issues I bring up, I don't believe. I totally believe what I said about Metroid, what I said about Zelda. But I was also, I wasn't trying to actually, for people who were genuinely hurt by it, because Zelda is something that brings them comfort, that was not my intention. It just wasn't. And that was bad form from me, and I apologize for that, because I'm not that guy. I assume everybody just kind of knows, which leads me to this something else. This guy tweets me, I'd never heard of this. I've heard of a bunch of principles, never heard of the Poe principle. Poe principle, I guess, if you're maybe younger generations know it, I had never heard about it, where if you don't go out of your way to make it clear you're joking on the internet, you don't really have a right to complain. Whether you're talking about people that just don't read cues very well, even in text, or people who read cues great in real life, but they don't know me from shit. And they're like, this guy, there's a lot of idiots on the internet. This guy seems like he's one of them. Like when I put out that picture last night about AI, and I took a picture of AI with Zelda, or Link. I know it's Link. I would stunned that anybody would have really thought, I'm like, hey, Nintendo, let me teach you how to make a fucking video game. And I knew the AI was going to kind of have a great little, what do they call it? The where they dovetail the kind of graph, whatever the kind of graph that is, between people who hate AI art and people who are hardcore kind of, Nintendo aficionados. It just seemed like it would. And it did. So a lot of people got upset, and I'm like, okay, I assumed I didn't need to make it clear I was joking. And a lot of people got the joke. And in the past, I would have been like, you know what, if you're too fucking stupid to get the joke and you think I'm really serious, if you look back at my history of making games and talking about games and playing games, just decades, you would know that gameplay has always come first to me, that I have said over and over that I will take indie games and AA games over AAA games if the gameplay is unique and fresh and interesting and emotive and whatnot. But then it occurs to me, I'm like, what if you don't know me? Most people on the planet don't know me. I'm known more than some, but certainly not known more than most. That makes sense. And so why would people who don't know who I am? So I just, when it was framed for me that way, and when I actually read this Poe principle thing, and when I realized that I got 2 or 3 tweets where it was like, I think this person in the past I would have called unhinged, but now I just go, maybe they are, maybe they're not, but we're all a little unhinged, maybe a lot unhinged. And this brings that person comfort. And I should be able to communicate my issues with this product and still have fun with it and joke around, but make it clear to people who don't know that I am, because I would never actually want to hurt anyone. So I wanted to get that out of the way, because it's important to me. The other thing real quickly, Zelda, yeah, you don't need to tell me that Zelda is the woman and Link is the warrior, whatever age he is, depending on the game. I got the first Zelda in '86 at Circus World when it came out. I got the gold cartridge. I finished Zelda 2 on the day I got my college acceptance to USC. Link to the Past is one of the best games ever. Minish Cap, one of the best games ever. I think Link Between Worlds is better than any other Zelda, including all the 3D ones. I've never cared for the 3D Zeldas, frankly. I've played every single one of them, but this one, Tears of the Kingdom, so far is the first 3D Zelda that brings me back to the feeling of being a kid / young adult playing those original Zeldas. And I think it's because of what do they call Ascend, Ultra Hand, Rewind, whatever they give these titles. I forget the abilities, because it feels like you can explore, and the game actually rewards you for exploring. Not so much the level, although that works too, but exploring the mechanics and playing with them and going, oh my God, I just did something cool. I didn't know that would work, but it did. That brings me back to those older games. So out of all the 3D games, I'm loving Tears of the Kingdom more than any other ones. But yeah, it's not pretty in a lot of places. Some places it is. People sent me a lot of screen grabs. I appreciate that. There's a lot of places that it's pretty. In most cases, it's just fine. And in some places, it's downright ugly. The controls are insanely unwieldy. But that's how good the game is that I don't care. I keep going back to it to play it because I enjoy it so much. Let me just kind of look at my notes real quick, because I want to make sure I cover some of the stuff that was bugging me. People are like, Jaffe, you cherry picked that image and you picked the worst image to make fun of Zelda. And I'm like, no, the reason I picked that image was it wasn't that I was looking for images. I was wandering through the Sky Island at the beginning in the tutorial part of the game, and I happened upon that, and I was like, holy shit, I was struck by how ugly it was. And so I took a picture. It wasn't me looking for something ugly. What else? Again, the idea, I will push back a little bit though. I get that people love what they love and they cherish it and it means a lot, but there is, I think, some mental health reflected in the idea that you can love something and adore it and it brings you great comfort, but you can also still analyze it and debate it and be critical of it. My favorite entertainment of all time is Raiders of the Lost Ark. It got me into making games, and I wanted to make movies, and it steered me on a very creative path my whole life. Adore it. I was still able, when somebody came up to me and said, you realize, this is decades after the movie hit, that Indiana Jones, if he wasn't even involved in the movie, in the story, nothing would have changed. The Nazis would have eventually gotten the Ark to the island. They would have opened it up. Spoiler alert, God would have come out and killed all the Nazis. Indiana Jones didn't even need to be involved in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I do think that's a flaw. You can kind of think your way through it and find some little threads where it makes it's a flaw. Still my favorite piece of entertainment of all time, but I can appreciate their problems. Doesn't mean anything. It's just discussion. The last two things, somebody clearly was indicating, oh, look at these Western devs. They're anti-Japanese. They don't like Japanese. And this guy brought up Elden Ring. Elden Ring, my friend, is my favorite game of all time. My absolute favorite game of all time. I was married for 14, 15 years to a Japanese lady. And she's still my best friend on the planet. She's the mom of my kids. So no to whatever it is you think you're trying to accuse me of. Final thing, AI art. Let's be clear. That's the future. EA has come out and talked about it recently. It's going to be a big part. Blizzard has come out and talked about it. I literally saw a video the other night where it was how to integrate ChatGPT prompts into Midjourney, which is the AI program. So you can be all flowery and crazy with ChatGPT, and it whittles it down to like a sentence or two. And I was doing that, and within 5 minutes, I was having. I'm not going to edit this, and I don't want this to go too long, but let me show you what I'm talking about, right? I mean, and I'm not here to kind of sell you on AI art. What I'm trying to communicate, I guess, is, let me see if this will come up. I was like, oh, give me Sweet Tooth. I wanted to see what Sweet Tooth would look like. And it's not perfect. Somebody said, oh, do Ted Lasso. God damn it, Jaffe. Ted Lasso biting into a soccer ball. Somebody said, do schematics of Iron Man, right? All of this literally took, and we timed it on the Discord, between them asking for it and then me going to GPT and putting this in, it was 3 to 4 minutes. You cannot tell me that this is not the future of creating content in commercial places like movies, games, what have you. I absolutely am opposed to theft. Oh my God, that screen, look at the screen. Oh, right, because I have the camera changed. It's better here, but I haven't cropped it here. Doesn't matter, I'll fix it later. People are, it's so dusty. I know. I'm absolutely opposed to theft. I would hope, and I'm sure some companies are already doing this, that they are going to have the AI they use draw from art that they own the rights to, or that they have licensed the rights to, which I think would be dangerous, because then what happens when the license expires? But different point. And I think that's how it's going to be going forward. That's how it should be going forward. No one deserves to have their work taken and actually monetized. That's bullshit. But that's growing pains. This is the same Ted Lasso, but then someone said do it cartoony. And yes, can I look at this and can I find little things? Like I was trying to do Taylor Swift's Thor. I'm like, I'm going to do all the oh, you can't even see him. I'm going to do all the here's the Ted Lasso, by the way, cartoony. I'm going to do all the Marvel characters as Taylor Swift, because I'm in love with Taylor Swift and she's going to marry me. And obviously, there are problems. Her hand is the hammer, right? But that's fucking amazing. Okay, so we'll get there. And we should get there because it will allow creative people to start using a different set of tools in order to express what is in their imagination. This is the Zelda thing that pissed off a lot of people. So people are like, but Jaffe, look, you can see this and that. Look at the birds. I'm like, dude, that was never the point. We're not there yet. This is a year ago, you couldn't even fathom this fucking shit, right? So the point is, my take on AI is no one deserves to be ripped off. But if you're living in a world, and again, this is just my opinion, if you're living in a world, especially now that you've got all these game companies coming out in support of it, and it is so fucking fast that, I mean, back in the day, man, I would have spent, like, okay, when I was at Sony, I used to work with a wonderful artist. It's just the way it is. I used to work with a wonderful artist that the day rate was like $800, okay? This image, or let's just take, let's do Sweet Tooth here. This image, if I was sort of going, okay, that's great in a rough black and white, now I really want to flesh that out to pitch it to the modelers or whatever, this image would have taken about 4 or 5 days. You're talking about depending on the day rate of the person, a $2,500 to $10,000 image, basically. This was done in 3 minutes, and I have 3 choices. And then I did another one in 3 minutes, and I have more choices. So I'm sorry if you're an artist and that frightens you. It should frighten you. It should frighten all of us. But at the same time, hopefully it'll push people towards universal basic income. And I know, who knows if it's going to happen. Hopefully it will. Where all of this extra time that's freed up doesn't mean that suddenly we get more work thrown at us. It means that, we can embrace a bit more leisure time, that we can, have universal basic income. So it's a big can of worms. I'm not like out here going, fuck artists, AI art's everything. But I am saying this is the future. It is amazing. And I'm actually looking forward to what artists, whether you're a visual fine artist or whether you're a writer, I'm looking forward to imaginative folks taking these tools and going, now that barrier has been removed to some extent. Now what can I do to take what's in me and express it and share it with the world? That's still incredibly artistic and meaningful and important. So anyway, there you go. I wanted to, it's a long video. I didn't mean to make it this long, but I really did want to express that because as much as I like to joke around and fuck around with people and stuff, and I'm a very obviously opinionated guy, an outspoken guy, and I'll never change that. I don't want to change that. But I'm not mean. And it really, I'm really sorry if you're one of those people that took that content and really felt I was, making things uncomfortable for you because someone with a pretty big microphone, and pretty big microphone was, comparatively speaking, not like compared to really people with really big microphones, was kind of taking the piss. That it was fun. It was all in good fun, and the content was correct in my opinion. It was still accurate from my view, but I wasn't trying to hurt anybody. So I do apologize for that. And there you go. That's my take on it all. And I hope you're well. And play Zelda if you haven't already, because it's great. You know what else is great? Believe it or not, 2K. What's it called? Lego 2K Drive. I got it yesterday. It comes out, I think, Friday for everybody. I got the pre-order. Holy shit. It's not the world's best game, but it's just fucking like bubblegum. It's so fun. I've been coming back to it for the last 2 days, and I can't wait to come back to it later. All right. Be well, everybody. See you soon.